All right, for the second part of segment 1, we are going to cover damage, stress, and conditions, the things that can take your character out of the game. We've looked at how to pew-pew a bunch of stuff, but we haven't looked at how to take the pew-pew and what it does to your body in terms of game mechanics. And hopefully, do we talk about healing? Looks like we'll probably be talking about healing as well in here. How do you heal in the year 2000 in a World War III that didn't happen? Well, let's find out about now. Boom, put that up. All right, we got our cover as always. Looks like a nice old military manual there. Please like, subscribe, and share if you like these read-throughs and semi-how-tos and deep dives into various games that we enjoy here. And check the description for subscribing to our Discord or donating to the channel or checking out our charity, the Wounded Warrior Project. How apt is that we are talking about damage, stress, and conditions, and I'm going to mention to you the Wounded Warrior Project, which is a national nonpartisan organization whose mission is to honor our wounded warriors, whether it's through mental care, physical care, counseling, so many different ways. I've talked to people that have actually been helped by the Wounded Warrior Project, so that's really good charity. Please check it out. I will be doing a 24-hour live stream on Veterans Day in support of the Wounded Warrior Project. Announcement on that later on in the future. But please, donate to the charity. This has been literally our worst year for the charity. And we don't know why. The only thing we can think of is that the economy sucks and everybody's hurting for money right now, myself included. So, no, I get it. But we have raised next to no money for the charity. And that's never happened to us in the 5 years that I've been doing this. So, hopefully people can find a way. Please don't put yourself in debt to do it, but find a way to donate. Again, you can find that in the description of this video. And now let's talk about being wounded in a game. It's 74. Boom. Damage. Twilight inferior, Palladium superior. Okay. I mean, are you trying to? Wasn't that trying to be Soundwave there? From the Transformer movie? Don't make me start singing those songs. All right, damage. Life in the aftermath of World War III is dangerous. You don't know where your journey ends, but you'll for sure suffer all sorts of harm along the way. Well, at least it's upfront about that, right? Harm to your character can come in two forms: damage and stress. And I don't know which one's worse. They're both bad. Both are recorded using the checkboxes on your character sheet. I do not actually have a character sheet up and ready right now. I could grab it, but we've showed it in previous videos. Suffering damage. You can suffer damage in many ways. These are the two most common. By pushing a skill roll. Now, we talked about that, how pushing a roll, if you are pushing a roll based on strength or agility, you take damage. And if you push a roll based on intelligence and empathy, you take stress. I hope I got those skills. Or is it wits and empathy? Man, all the different terms in the different Freely games, I get thrown off. But either way, if you use the noggin skills, you're going to take stress. If you use the muscle skills, you're going to take damage. There you go. If you push your skill, it's right there. If you push skill roll using strength or agility, you suffer 1 point of damage for each boom. So 1 rolled on your base die. Armor and cover have no effect against such damage. Armor cannot protect you from you pulling a muscle because you exerted yourself too hard. From attacks, whenever you attack someone in combat, you inflict damage equal to the base damage of the weapon, plus 1 for every additional success you roll. I like that. A nice simple rule, by the way. Just nice and simple. It didn't get in all the crazy optional things of the other role-playing games, which I'm okay with. Same goes for damage from explosions, fire, etc. Hit location. When a human target is hit by a ranged attack in close combat or by an explosion, roll the special D6 white hit location die included in this box set. I am missing mine. I'm honestly missing mine. And I think it's because the cats went around and knocked everything off my desk. So it's probably under my computer shelf or something where my computer sits. Or I left it in the box back there not realizing that it went to this game. I don't know. Either way, I am missing mine. To determine hit location. A normal D6 works to use the table below. If you fired a called shot or struck an aim blow, you can choose hit location freely. Never roll hit location for damage from pushing. That's just generic damage. And here's what you roll. And this makes sense. 1 is legs, 5 is arms, 6 is head, 2, 3, and 4 is torso, because mostly you're going to hit, as Palladium likes to call it, the main body. In the military, we are taught, aim for the center of mass. That's the torso. So now, but I want to shoot the legs. Well, then make a called shot right there. Boom, called shot. You can do that. Armor and cover. If you're behind cover wearing body armor that protects the body location hit, it might stop the attacker, at least reduce the amount of damage done. A few types of body armor included in Chapter 5, and a list of typical cover can be found on page 59. To be able to shoot a firearm across a barrier, you need to expose your head and your arms. This game does not have the modern folding, not stock, but the folding barrel weapons where you can shoot around corners. So, armor level. Cover and body armor have armor levels. Wearing multiple layers of body armor is not useful. Only the most effective armor counts. Body armor can be combined with cover or vehicle armor, however, add the 2 armor levels. So cover, vehicle armor, basically things you're standing behind, will add to your natural armor. But the View said it's easy to shoot as person's leg. View doesn't know what to talk about. And shooting somebody in the leg has a very high chance of hitting the femoral, which you'll bleed out anyway. So that's dumb. You ladies are stupid. So armor modify. Okay, well, let's keep looking at this. I'm looking for the spot where I just missed, where I just completely missed the fact that it actually tells how armor works. Now, it does give a generic set of information up here, right? This might stop the attack or at least reduce the damage done. Come on. But that doesn't say exactly in game mechanic terms how that happens. It is written in an example, or at least one example. But as you guys know, I don't tend to like to read the examples here because this is about giving game information, and rules shouldn't be provided in the example. They should be provided in the rules. All right. All weapons have an armor modifier, which is applied to any armor level before determining penetration. So this is what we talked about in the last video, where grenades get a +1. So if your armor value is 2 and the weapon I'm using gives you a +1 to your armor, I'm using a 22, like a little 22. They've got, or a pipe gun, I think it's called in this game, which gives you +2 to your armor. Basically, the armor just bounces off. You still don't want to be shot by it, but the armor saves you. So armor levels are bonuses to the armor you're wearing, and I don't remember seeing any that gave a negative armor value. Everything was either 0, +1, +2. So that just means, and they were from smaller or more inaccurate or pretty worthless weapons. That's why the armor was given a bonus. The armor modifier is not applied if the target has no armor at all. Makes sense. Penetration. Damage done is reduced by the modified armor level, right? Because we keep saying that the armor levels only go up. So if you have an armor rating of 2 and you have an armor modifier of 1, that's an armor rating of 3 now. So that reduces 3 points of damage, right? This reduces your damage to 0. The hit is fully deflected. You still need to make a coolness under fire roll to avoid suppression, however. Penetration limit. There is a limit to armor penetration. If the base damage rating of the weapon is 2 steps lower than the modified armor level or more, the attack is fully deflected, no matter how many successes were rolled. Okay, so let's think about this. If you're wearing an armor value of 4, all right, so this is modified. So we can even say that it's modified. Doesn't matter if it's a natural 4 or modified to a 4 based on the weapon I'm using. But you now have a current armor level of 4. And I'm using a weapon that does 2 damage. It cannot hurt you. Just can't. Your armor is going to stop at any time. Now, if you're only wearing the armor in the chest, I can still shoot your arm. I can still shoot your head, whatever. But if your armor rating is 3 and my weapon damage rating is 1, I don't know, maybe a knife or something, the weapon cannot hurt you. All right? No matter how many successes I roll. Armor or ablation. If a piece of armor or cover is penetrated by an attack, roll a d6 base die. If you roll a 1, a kabloomy, its armor levels decreased by 1 step. Basically, it went through and it just reduced the armor's protection for whatever reason. If the armor level reaches 0, the armor or cover no longer provides any protection. Armor can be repaired with a tech roll and a shift of work. So that's 8 hours. Or was 6 to 10, whatever. Each success rolled restores 1 point of armor level up to the original score. So you're not going to be doing this, in comp, putting some duct tape on there and hoping that it, okay, you're all good, go back out there. It's going to take some time. Incapacitated by damage. When you have suffered damage equal to or in excess of your hit capacity, you become incapacitated. So if you have a hit capacity of 5 and you take 5 or more, you're incapacitated. You're knocked senseless or collapse from exhaustion, and you can only crawl and mumble through the pain. You cannot perform any other actions, and you cannot roll for any skills. You're just mommy. No. Yeah, you're this guy. You're just mumbling. Killing blow. A person who is incapacitated by damage is defenseless. If it's a human being and you want to kill him outright, you must fail an empathy roll. Roll 1 base die only. If the roll succeeds, you simply cannot force yourself to do it. So it's good to have a low empathy, right? But even if you have a high empathy, it's just 1 die. So and by the way, this is across all Free League games. I know there are people out there who don't like this. Oh, I should just be able to do it. I agree with Free League's philosophy that while we all talk a tough game, it honestly is harder to just murderify somebody, especially somebody who's defenseless, than people give credit for. Can it be done and do people do it? Yes. But they either have a talent. I don't know if there is a talent for that in this game, but in the other Free League games, there's a talent for it called Cold-Blooded, or you just fail an empathy roll. Sometimes war has you so jaded. And if you remember some of the things that we were talking about in the past, there's a lot of ways to lose empathy in this game. You just saw too much crap, whatever, and so it doesn't matter anymore. So, as a young buck still thinking that the world could be saved and it's a great place, it might be harder for you to do it. But that grizzled veteran who's just seen too much crap, probably much easier, right? Even if the roll fails and you do kill the victim, you suffer 1 point of stress. Killing in cold blood is not easy. If you have the killer specialty, okay, so that's going to be the cold-blooded talent, so it's going to be the killer specialty. You can kill defenseless enemies without these negative effects. So you just have to, I wouldn't say waste, you just have to spend points on the killer specialty. And I'm sure a lot of people would do it. Some referees might say no, but I get it. You always want one guy who can do it, right? Recovery. The fastest way to recover from being incapacitated by damage is for someone else in the same hex as you to treat you by successfully rolling for medical aid. Medic! This is a slow action. If successful, you immediately heal a number of damage points equal to the number of successes rolled. Further medical aid rolls have no effect, and the same person cannot try again unless more advanced medical gear is applied, or until the next time you are incapacitated by damage. Now remember, this doesn't talk about critical injuries. This is just talking about the damage to your body. If no one helps you within a shift, you recover anyway and heal 1 point of damage. Just want to remind you, gotta keep throwing it out there. This is just about general tick boxes that tells you how much your body can absorb, so to speak, how much abuse it can take before you just like, I can't do it anymore. This is not about the critical injuries, not yet. If you specifically have a broken ankle or a sucking chest wound or whatever, those will have to be treated differently. This is just natural recovery for the body. Further recovery. Once back on your feet, you will heal 1 point of remaining damage for each full shift spent resting or sleeping. And since you only sleep a shift per day, basically it's 1 point a day. This assumes you are not starving, dehydrated, or hypothermic, which we'll be reading about in a couple of pages. You can heal damage and stress at the same time. So basically, as you start feeling better, your mind eases as well. Infected wounds. Now, this is something new to this game. This is in the other Free League games. If you suffer 1 point of damage or more from an external attack, you risk infection. So if somebody stabs you, somebody shoots you, if a bomb or a grenade goes off next to you and you suffered a point of damage, you need to check for infection. Unless you're treated with a medical aid roll within a shift after taking damage, you must make an infection roll to resist falling ill. Antibiotics give a +3 modifier to the roll. You can treat yourself as long as you're not incapacitated. Basically, this is saying if you take damage, you need to have a medic nearby. Doesn't mean you die right away. That's another thing. Be careful. Oh, great. I just die. No, you suffer infection, and we'll find out what that is in a little bit. But you don't just die right then and there. Damage at NPCs. Okay, example. We're gonna just critical injuries. All right. Let's get to the stuff that can really mess you up now. Scroll over just a touch. There we go. Normal damage point represents fatigue, bruises, and flesh wounds. Painful, to be sure, but not fatal. Critical injuries represent a much more dangerous form of injury. These can maim or kill you. When attacking an enemy, if the damage you inflict is equal to or higher than the crit threshold of your weapon, after mitigation by armor and cover, you inflict a critical injury on that enemy. The same goes, of course, when an enemy attacks you. Okay, so let's slow this down. Let's take a look at that. Damage you inflict is equal to or higher than the crit threshold of your weapon. After mitigation by armor and cover, so the armor and cover will help you. So let's make it easy. You're shooting somebody who's unarmored. All right, and your weapon does 2 damage, but has a crit threshold of 3. You roll a success, you do 2 damage. You roll 2 successes, you do 3 damage. Well, now you've just reached the crit threshold of that weapon. Now you've inflicted a critical injury. Armor is important in this game. The critical injury tables are found on page 76. Roll a d10 for the hit location struck to determine the exact injury. Some injury descriptions might need to be adapted to the weapon, but doesn't change the effect. So let's check on 76. Where do we? Here we go. Let's just pick a torso. I'll roll a d10. Oh, where'd I put my dice? Hid the dice for my cat so well, hid them for me. Oh, that's upside down. Funny. My die roller is upside down. Oh, and it got stuck. Did I put it in backward? Oh, I did. I put it in backward. So I got an 8. All right, so you fired the weapon that has a power level of 2. You got an extra success, so you did 3 damage, but has a crit threshold of 3, and I rolled an 8. So what is an 8? Torn intestines. Oh, that's just gross. Is it lethal? It can. Yep. Time limit is a stretch, and we'll learn what this is. I always mess this up when I do it out of my head, but I get it when I read it. So what the time limit is, basically time limit is when you need to have medical attention given to you. Stamina -1. Okay, so the effects are stamina -1 and disease virulence -3. Incubation 1 shift. So yeah, we'll have to where's that virulence? Is it 3 or -3? I don't know. I'll figure that out. And heal time is 2d6. Oh, yay! I have drinks. Thank you. Woo. Well, okay. All right. So we'll read more about that later, but you get the idea of if you have a critical injury, you roll on there. And all right. Arms and legs, in addition to the listed effects, all arm crits automatically make you drop any held items, and all leg crits make you fall down. But I've seen somebody get shot in the leg and keep running. It's a game, not a simulation, and we don't want to have 36 rolls to try to figure out if you stand, if you limp, if you fall down, whatever. So, for the purposes of a game, if you're holding something shot in the arm, there you go. You're shot with a 50 cal in the arm, you also drop your arm. Just letting you know. Severe injuries. If the damage of an attack exceeds the weapon's crit threshold by 2 steps or more, the critical injury is severe. That means you roll 2d10s on the critical injury table and use the highest result. Well, we already saw that an 8 was pretty bad. If the damage inflicted is 4 steps higher than the crit threshold or more. You roll 3d10s and use the highest result, and so on. Okay, so 2d10. Oh, so 2, 4. So every 2 steps. So every 2 successes. I shouldn't say it that way. Every 2 steps or more. Yeah, you're gonna be adding another d10. Pretty soon, you're just gonna get to the what's a 10? What's a 10 in torso? Well, 10 for head is brains blown out. Oh yeah, there you go. Heart impaled. All right, so these are instant deaths. Got it. Legs. Severed leg. All right, well, it's probably going to bleed out. Can it be lethal? Absolutely. A severed leg absolutely can be. And arms. Severed arm. All right. All right. If you suffer a critical injury listed as lethal, you must make a death save when the listed time has passed. 1 round, stretch, or shift. Okay, so let's go back down here. So it says a stretch. So a stretch is 10 to 15 minutes. So I have to make a stretch save within 10 to 15 minutes. Okay. All right, let's go back up here. I'm going to have to keep sliding over. When the time of this pass. 1 round, 1 stretch, 1 shift. Got it. If the time limit is round, make the roll on your next turn. The death save is not an action itself. A death save is a roll for stamina. Got it. So you're rolling stamina. You may roll even if incapacitated because your body's still trying to stay alive, but then you can't push the roll. Okay, so if you're conscious, you can push the roll. If you're incapacitated, you can still try to survive, but you cannot push the roll. If you're not incapacitated, you can push the roll normally. If a death save fails, you die. So what you're doing is you're rolling stamina and trying for 1 or more successes. So hopefully you have a decent stamina. If you succeed, you linger on, but you must make another death save when the listed amount of time has passed again. So if we're talking for my character, which was a stretch, so we'll just say 15 minutes will make life easy. I roll at 15 minutes. I get a success. Well, I survived that 15 minutes. I hope these bums are getting me to a hospital. 15 minutes later, I've got to roll again. Now, it doesn't say anything about a penalty or anything else. It just says, hey, you just got to roll again. So I'm fighting. I'm kicking and screaming, not literally, figuratively, to stay alive. Moving the wounded. If you move when suffering from a lethal critical injury, you must make an immediate death save. Oh, that's lovely. If someone else moves you, he must make a medical aid roll. No action. Failure means you must make an immediate death save. So, okay. So if he makes a medical aid roll, what he's doing is he's putting you on the stretcher, but he's doing it carefully, hopefully not jarring you too much, whatever. But in order to be careful, he has to make that medical aid roll. So you hope it's actually coming from a medic who's got a decent medical aid roll and not your buddy who, took the killer specialty. When carrying another person, each running action will move you only 1 hex. Got it. Stabilizing crits. To stabilize a lethal critical injury and save your life, roll 1 or more medical aid. 1 or more medical aid rolls must be made. Medical equipment can give a boost to the roll. If you are not incapacitated, you can attempt to administer aid to yourself, but with a -2 modifier. So, was it lethal? So, this is like applying a tourniquet. This is, because we're not talking future tech here. He's, this is putting the ID card and taping it down on 3 sides for the sucking chest wound, things like that. The medical aid roll takes the same amount of time to perform as the time limit of your critical injury. So that one that we talked about before about the intestines being blown, that's a stretch, right? So the medical aid roll takes 15 minutes to administer. If the roll succeeds, the time limit of your crit is increased by a category. So it goes from a stretch to a shift. So it goes from 15 minutes to 6 to 10 hours. Let's just use 8 hours to make life easy. So it goes from 15 minutes to 8 hours. Well, that's a great way of binding you up to get you to a hospital. I might steal some of these damage rules from my game. I'm really, I shouldn't talk about my game in this, but I'm really struggling with the damage implementation of my game because I keep having scope creep. But every time I reel it back, I want the scope creep again. It's annoying me. This seems to solve a lot of my issues. All right. Where are we here? When a crit with a time limit of a shift is successfully treated, you no longer risk dying, and you don't need to make any further death saves. If the medical aid roll fails, trying again is allowed after a death save has been made. Note that there are a small number of critical injuries that kill you outright. If you roll any of these, your character leaves this brutal world forever. Time to create a new character. So obviously that headshot, right? Where's it? Boom. Instant death. You're done. Goodbye. You're done. There you go. We haven't got to what heal time means yet. Hopefully we get to that soon. All right. Healing crits. Each critical injury has a specific effect that you suffer during the healing time indicated, which is measured in days. Okay, so got it. So let's go back down here. Healing time is days. So let's look at our, not brain hemorrhage, our torn intestines. So this lasts for 2d6 days. So I got a 2 and a 2, a 4. It's not bad. It's only 4 days. Or is that really bad? Because it means I'm going to die quicker. I don't know. Torn intestines lasts for mine for 4 days because I rolled a 4 on 2d6. All right, let's go back up and see more about that. Okay, so you suffer. So I'm going to suffer that stamina and that virulence effect for 4 days. That's what that means. I know I'm scrolling a lot here, but it's to show. That's the head. Here you go. The stamina 1 and disease. Where's my mouse? Stamina 1, disease virulence 3. That's going to last for 4 days. So easy when I read in the rules, but I never remember it properly. Skill roll modifiers due to critical injuries are cumulative and apply even if you don't have the skill. Well, you can't take away my ranged combat skill. I don't have ranged combat. Well, guess what, buddy? That just means you're rolling less dice because you're not going to be rolling. You're not going to be rolling the skill die and the base die. You're just going to be rolling a base die. So good luck with that. If someone tends to you for a shift per day, and by the way, yeah, I know, like a stamina. Would you really want to lose have a -1 to your stamina? That sucks. All right. If someone tends to you for a shift per day during the process of healing a critical injury and makes a medical aid roll, that day counts as double. That day counts double. So it counts as 2 days. Okay. It's just weird how it was written. So you're healing a little faster. Note that you can heal all of your damage points, but still suffer the effects of a critical injury. Yep, we've talked about that a few times. All right. I'm going to skip multiple crits. We looked at the torso, we looked at the chart. So let's, we generally get it. Again, if you really want to dive into, like, no, I have to know every nuance of this, I would say buy the book and play the game. So let's talk about stress. Stressful experiences such as getting shot or witnessing harrowing scenes can temporarily put you out of action or even cause long-term psychological damage. You can suffer stress in several different ways. These are the 2 most common. By pushing a skill roll. If you push a roll that uses intelligence or empathy, you suffer 1 point of stress for each boom, each failure, each 1 you roll on the base die. From stressful situations, the referee determines the amount of potential stress from the event from 1 to 3, and there's a table on the next page to give you an idea. You then make a roll for coolness under fire. Let me make sure that there's nothing. Okay, yeah, there's nothing. Roll 1 base die for your current coolness under fire rating and 1 for the current unit morale rating of your unit. If you have line of sight to any friendly fighters. So you only make the unit 1, you only add in the unit die if you can see your buddies. Each success roll eliminates 1 point of potential stress. If you suffer 1 or more points of stress, you also freeze, losing both of your actions on your next turn. Coolness under fire rolls cannot be pushed. A single attack or event can only ever trigger 1 coolness under fire roll for the same person, never several rolls. Okay, so this could give you a 1 round of shell shock, but let's be honest, 1 round of shell shock could mean life or death. Incapacitated by stress. When you have suffered stress equal to or in excess of your stress capacity, so let's just arbitrarily say you have 5 stress capacity, you are incapacitated by stress. You're paralyzed by fear, indecision, or breakdown and despair. You didn't want to join this man's war anyway, man. You can run for cover, but you can't perform any other actions or roll for any skills. You are now Corporal Upham watching your buddy get stabbed. Saving Private Ryan. If you don't know the reference. Rally. When incapacitated by stretch, other PC or NPC in the same hex can beat you. Can rally you to help you regain your senses by making a command roll. This is a slow action. If successful, you immediately heal a number of stress points equal to the number of successes rolled. Further command rolls have no effect, and the same person cannot try again until the next time you are incapacitated by stress. If no one rallies you within a stretch, you recover anyway. So a stretch is 15 minutes, so you'll only be rocking the fetal position for 15 minutes. You automatically heal 1 point of remaining stress for each full shift you spent resting or sleeping. This assumes you are not sleeping deprived or hypothermic. You are not sleep deprived or hypothermic. You can heal stress and damage at the same time. Stress doesn't inflict critical injuries like damage does, but each time you become incapacitated by stress, you risk suffering long-term mental trauma. PTSD for anyone? Roll for empathy the next time you rest or sleep for a shift. Roll for the attribute only. If the roll fails, you develop long-term or even permanent mental trauma of some kind. So while having that low empathy, Heathen Dog might think is good in some areas, now we find out where it kicks you in the ding-ding. You are not, you may have left the war, but the war never left you. The roll fails, you develop a long-term or even permanent mental trauma of some kind. Make a roll on page 77. Well, let's take a look on page 77. We'll get, and these are examples. We'll come back to the examples in a moment. I want to see, where's page 77? What page is that? 79. Hi, Cat. 77. Okay. Oh, so there you go. Cat. Nervous tremble. Okay, let's roll a D10. What? It's not a treat. You don't get to eat it. It's not a treat. I rolled a 5. I'm nocturnal. Sleep is only possible during morning and day shifts. Because at night, that's when Charlie comes to get you. Really? All of that? Are you suffering stress? Here, be cute for 1 minute. Bye-bye. Okay. Joys of live streaming. Where were we? Further recovery, mental trauma. We did that. All right, so let's look at these stressful situations first. Getting hit by a ranged attack, being targeted by a ranged attack that misses, but 1 or more ammo dies show a bullet. Being in the blast radius of an explosion. Being in the same hex as a friendly fighter. Failing a coolness under fire roll. Seeing your buddy suffer damage, or another PC suffer lethal critical injury. So that adds stress. Yeah, you see your buddy get, just up right in front of you. Yeah, I can see how that cause some stress. Okay, now, how do you get 2 points of stress? Seeing your buddy suffer a lethal critical injury. You have part of his brain on the side of your face. Or he's sitting there trying to hold in his guts as he takes 2 more steps. And 3, being tortured. Well, that adds only 3. Or witnessing a massacre. So you witness your buddy with the killing specialty go and kill all those unarmed prisoners of war. Long-term trauma is permanent unless you get help. A person who spends at least 1 shift counseling you can roll for medical aid. If successful, you can make another empathy roll. If that also succeeds, you heal the trauma. Really? For just a shift? Only 1 counseling attempt can be made each week. I know it's for the purpose of a game, so I'm not going to cry over it, but I would think that'd have to be a continuing process. Okay, well, let's move on to conditions. This is the last thing we're going to cover for today. And then we'll go into segment 2, which will be responding to some Palladium Books comments. So in the game, you can suffer 4 negative conditions: starving, dehydrated, sleep deprived, and hypothermic. These conditions can cause damage and block recovery. Mark conditions on your character sheet. I know Pathfinder players are used to like having 30 conditions or whatever. I can see the benefit to that, but 4 works in all the Free League games, and pretty much all the Free League games have the same 4. Well, okay, I do a lot of Forbidden Lands, so maybe it's just Forbidden Lands. Anyway, and they work. They really do. Starving. You must eat a ration of food at least once every day. After a full day without food, you become starving. So if you eat today, don't eat tomorrow. When you wake up the next day, you are considered starving. Now, if you eat, you should be fine, depending on how the rules read here. So theoretically, you could eat every other day and generally be fine, but you will be starving at least to start the day. Starvation has several effects. You cannot heal damage in any way. You can recover stress normally, though. You recover 1 point of damage per week if you're incapacitated. Oh, suffer. Wow, did I say recover? Wow. You little thief. She's got a nose for those treats. I hit him and she found one. Okay, you suffer 1 point of damage per week. So you can starve to death. If you're incapacitated by damage while starving, you die after another week without food. As soon as you've eaten, you are no longer starving and you can heal damage normally. Now then there's dehydrated. You must drink a ration of water at least once per day. After a day without water, you become dehydrated. You cannot heal damage in any way. You still can recover stress normally. You take 1 point of damage every day, not every week, every day. Water's a little more important. If you're incapacitated by damage while dehydrated, you die after another day without water. It is a horrible, horrible, horrible way to die. As soon as you drink, you are no longer dehydrated and you can heal damage normally. You starving? Are you a starving girl? Goodbye. Sleep deprived. You need to sleep for at least 1 shift each day. After 1 day without sleep, you become sleep deprived. Being sleep deprived has the following effects. You cannot heal stress. If you're incapacitated by stress while sleep deprived, you must sleep for at least 1 shift before you can heal any stress. You take 1 point of stress each day. If incapacitated by stress while sleep deprived, you collapse. I want to say that again. If incapacitated by stress while sleep deprived, you collapse and sleep for at least 1 shift. Basically, like, body can't take it anymore, I'm out. And they're impossible to wake up during that time. Your brain has pretty much shut down. As soon as you've slept for at least a shift, you are no longer sleep deprived and you can heal stress normally. And then finally, there's hypothermic. When the cold is bitter and you don't have adequate clothes or shelter, referee's discretion, you must roll for stamina at regular intervals. The colder it is, the more frequently you need to roll. A chilly fall day requires a roll once per day. In the winter, you might have to roll once every shift or even every stretch in extreme conditions. Extra protection like a blanket can give a bonus to your roll. If you fail, you become hypothermic. Being hypothermic has the following effects. Immediately suffer 1 point of damage and stress. So you take damage and stress. Boom, right there. Pop, pop. You can even hallucinate, causing you to act irrationally. Details are up to the referee to decide. But that takes away agency from my character. Yeah, because you're dying. Your brain is freezing. Some say that when you are close to freezing to death, you feel a strong burning sensation that can make you tear your clothes off. Nut job. You must keep rolling for stamina at the same interval, suffering 1 point of damage, 1 point of stress each time you fail. I'm trying to find my mouse. There it is. If you become incapacitated while hypothermic, you die the next time you need to roll. You cannot heal damage or stress. Only after you've warmed up, if only by a campfire, are you able to heal again. Yeah, I moved them. You're not there anymore. You look like a squirrel sniffing around. So there we go. That is damage, stress, and conditions. And you can see on the screen they're falling. Next week, we are going to cover miscellaneous hazards and damage. So we'll have chemical warfare, drowning, all types of weird fun, right? And we'll be doing that up until we hit vehicle combat, which will be the second part of, which is right there. And this will be the second part of next week. So we'll talk about diseases and radiation, all types of good stuff next week. Boom. How does experiencing, let me put it on the screen. How does experiencing hallucinations remove your agency? Well, there are people out there who be like, I'm in control of my character, and you're having me act in ways that I wouldn't act, right? Because things outside of your normal control have taken over. It does not have rules for electrocution. Not directly, anyway. Sorry, violence. Can't post comments to some destinations. Why not? I'm in everything. Weird. And then there's Rex Teal says, I like that cold-blooded rule. There's some things that are subconscious just naturally prevents us from doing and really emphasize the horrors of war. You'd be surprised how many people say, oh, I could do it. I could do it. I could do it. I know personally, I could kill somebody in self-defense. I wouldn't hesitate. You coming after me with a knife? I wouldn't hesitate. But if you're laying on the ground, even after you tried to stab me, I don't know. I don't know if I could do it. I don't think I could. Maybe. But yeah, you see, there's a lot of people out there who would complain about that. When modern world power lines, electrical outlets, toast, of course. Well, you can come up with damage rules for it, absolutely. And it might be in the next. So we got fire. So for example, we can talk about fire. So we have drowning, fire, chemical warfare, radiation, disease. I mean, that's it in this book. Maybe in the urban operations book, they have more. And we are going to look at the urban operations book the last week of Twilight 2000. So maybe it's there, or maybe just treat it like fire for the purpose of injury. Not saying like for like spreading or whatever, but I'm sure there's enough here where you could add that in. So, all right. So, yeah, I guess that's going to be it for today. Hopefully, obviously it was a read through. We talked about it a little bit, showed how that the damage worked. I know I didn't show it on the character sheet, but you'll be fine. You'll be fine. I just don't think that there is too much more we had to talk through. I think the rules are pretty much okay, unless you have some questions about specifically what it means to be dehydrated. Can you do this? Can you do that? Just remember, this game is not a simulation. While it tries to point out the horrors of war, it is not trying to be, a medical. It's not a medical dictionary. Okay, it's not WebMD. It is just trying to make a game work effectively. So cool. Anyway, look forward to talking to you all next week with miscellaneous hazards, damage, and vehicle combat.